This is Art Asman in Carfight Corner with another deck review, and this time we're going to go over Aquaforce, specifically Thavas. So let's get to it. And I'm going to make this quick this time, don't worry. So let's start off with our starter, and it's none other than Officer Cadet Andre. Andre skill is amazing. Of course, I'm pretty sure all you Aquaforce players know that, and if you don't, trust me, he's the best starter that you can have in a Thavas deck. If you have a different opinion, please don't forget to comment below and share your opinions with us, and we'll let you know about what we think about it. But so far as I know, there are no better starters than himself. Anyways, let's go over to the trigger lineups. So the first four criticals, and basically nothing special, just the criticals, and it gives plus 3k whenever you put them in the soul from the rear guard. It's pretty useful at times. Suppose if you have a Lambros turn and you have Tidal Assault in your front row, or Magnum Assault, or anybody like that, you can use his skill, put them in the soul, give one of them plus 3k, and that way they can attack the Vanguard every time. And even when they're first attacking, because usually what you end up doing is attacking a rear guard. Because the power is not enough, but this really helps at times. Similar to the 4 draw triggers, and they have the exact same skill, other than the draw effect, of course. And then our heal triggers over here, and of course, very basic, and Kelpie Rider Petros. So he's the critical trigger that goes into the soul, gets your Vanguard plus 5k, and you get to draw. You will use her at times, but I mean, usually I don't, because I never get the opportunity to, but it can be useful at times, because this is not necessarily a full aggro deck. It has a little bit of control, so in order to get a good hand size, I recommend using the draws, like over here, and using her as much as you can. Let's move on to our grade 1s. Start out with Kelpie Rider Nickies. Of course, Stride Fodder, I'm sure all of you guys know about him. And very useful, of course, because since it's Thavas, you want to stride every turn. His GB2 ability is okay, like Thavas's, but I mean, if you look at your G zone, I'm sure you'll find something that you can use. Perfect Guards is going to be Ocean Keeper Plateau. Counter-targeting effect is very useful. Very useful, because if you're using Magnum Assault, Wailing Thavas, things like that, it really helps out. That way you don't even have to take extra damage and things like that. Then let's go on to Battle Siren Melania. I love Melania when it comes to my hand at the first stride, because I always try to stride onto Commander Thavas, and if Melania is in my hand, I put it on the back row, and I always attack it on the third battle or more. That way I counterblast one, give it plus 5k, and then another plus 5k through Thavas, and due to Thavas' skill, if you attack from the background, I get to draw a card on top of that. I think that's literally the best grade 1 that you can possibly have in this deck during your first stride. But sometimes that doesn't happen, and I may do with something else, maybe a grade 2 in the back row. But I mean, in my opinion, Melania is a very essential card in this deck. And so is Battle Siren Stacia. Now, Stacia is clearly very important, because she can attack from the back row, and she gets plus 3k when she attacks. And, well, she gets plus 3k regardless of how many times you attack. It's not once per turn constricted or anything like that. You can use it anytime you want, as long as you're attacking with her. And if you can restand her and give it, plus 3k with the triggers that we discussed prior to this, she can be a very, very troublesome card. So that's going to be it for our grade 1 lineup, and this is a total of we just finished the grade 1s, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's go on to the grade 2s. So the first 4 that we're going to look at will be Adelaide. Now, Adelaide, some people don't like running her because of her on rear guard effect, where you have to counterblast one and soul blast one. But I think she is very helpful solely because your first attack, you don't have to attack with 9k like Magnum Assaults or Tidal Assaults, things like that. You attack with an 11k every time. So, I mean, I can't really find a good reason for not running her. So, unless you guys have something to say, please don't forget to comment again. Then the 4, I place it off Tidal Assaults. You get an extra attack, regardless of whether or not it hits, to get to activate wave abilities for many cards of yours. For now, he helps me activate Lambros' ability all the time. If you're not familiar with him, don't worry, we're going to go over that card too. The Gizon is coming up right next. And then, Saberflow Sailors, 2 of them. Now, some people don't run her too, but she's actually very useful because at the end of the battle that she attacks, with the 4th battle or more, you get to retire it. And if you do, then you get to draw 2 cards. Very helpful, and you can clearly see how 2 cards can possibly help you into the game. Then, just 2 Magnum Assaults. Now, sometimes I switch in and out between 1 Tidal Assault and 1 Magnum Assault, but for now I'm just running 2. Magnum Assault is, of course, a very good card, but this setup so far has won me a lot of matches. I've never used this deck competitively yet. I haven't used it competitively yet, but today actually is going to be my first day to use it competitively. And I'll let you guys know how the tournament goes, but hopefully it'll go well. But so far the matches that I've played with this structure, it felt like this was the best lineup that I could possibly have. Let's move on to grade 3s then. So we only run 2 kinds of grade 3s in this deck, and the first place it will be, of course, of Thavas, and the second place is of Skyros. Now, why do I run Skyros? Skyros can be very useful, very, very useful at times, like suppose if you're playing against Kagero, if he gives your entire front row restraint, so your opponent cannot retire any of your cards while it's attacking. On top of that, if you're going against dimensional robos, your opponent cannot retire your cards from the Guardian Circle. And yes, by the way, many people don't know that, but it's also activate. The continuous effect is also activated in the Guardian Circle. So that means if you're going against D-Robos, you'll most likely win that game, because even if your opponent does get a grade 3, your opponent has to choose one of your Guardians. And since since resist does not allow your opponent to retire stuff, it's not really going to help them, even though that's a pretty good skill. So without further ado, let's move on to the G-Zone. So in the G-Zone, to start up, we have a playset of Commander Thavas. Commander Thavas, of course, I'm sure you guys know. His ability is amazing, especially if you have Melania in your hand. If you don't, that's fine. If you have an excess of grade 2s or grade 3s, you can attack from the back row anyways. So he's a pretty decent card. Okay, so after that we have 1 Screw for a G-Guardian. Now, this is only because of a lack of a better card to be used at the moment. Aquaforce has very limited G-Guardian that you can basically use at the moment. We only have 2, I believe. And even though I'm running both of them, Screw comes in handy at times. And then Dark Element, Dismal, of course. So Dismal, I'm sure you guys know his effects. I'm running 1 at the moment, but I might take her out. I'm still debating on it, but I might take her out. Then we have a playset of Lambros, of course, the entire Aquaforce engine that you need. Second stride, this almost always happens. Almost always in my second stride, I go on to Lambros because I have all its requirements and I can resend 2 units. They get plus 10k, even if they're trigger units, and it's very helpful, trust me. And after that, well, my favorite card to use after using a turn of Lambros, or maybe 2 turns of Lambros. After that, I always thread on to Wailing Thavas. Now, Wailing Thavas' ability, of course, when you attack with him, for every time your rearguard attacked this turn, he gets plus 5k. So even if your opponent not only can your opponent not perfect guard this, it'll take a lot of triggers for him or her to block this unit's attack. And on top of that, it gets triple drive, of course, like any great force. And when this unit attacks, for each battle that a rear guard attacked during this turn, your opponent chooses one of his or her rear guards and retires it. And that's awesome too, because even if your opponent's rear guard has a resist, your opponent still has to retire it because you're not choosing your opponent is. And then just 2 more G guards. One will be Floatia, of course. Ice Barrier Dragon, and Aristotle as the final card. At the moment, I'm just using one Aristotle because usually my plays are done using these, and these are used for defense. And he's just a placeholder unless I actually feel like, I only use him when my opponent actually has rear guards, which I'm fearful of. Like, let's say if a Gold Paladin player has P-Wall or things like that. That's very useful. So thank you for tuning in. If you found this video to be helpful, please like and subscribe, and tune in until the next time. Thank you.